you get a big bullet, and you get a big bullet, and you get a big bullet. Today we're gonna gain a lot more damage, because we're armed with a massive shotgun that fires massive bullets. And on top of that, we're gonna add more attack speed. I think damage and piercing are gonna be our very best friend today, because I've heard from a very reliable source that high damage and piercing is really all you need. So for now, I'm not even gonna take the bounce, I'm gonna take crit chance. And so far it seems to be a pretty good strategy, especially with this character. Again, much more damage, a legendary upgrade. We're already doing 100 damage, which is definitely enough to destroy that thing. I'm also going to emit an aura that slows enemies around me. I guess what we're trying to create is like a giant railgun today. We're going to shoot one massive bullet that goes through everything. And it's not going to stop ever. We're going to take another 5% crit chance, because if we can add some crit, even more damage. And this character has a thing where if I walk around without shooting and then stop, I'll fire extra bullets. That's why I turn into a shotgun. I'm going to pick up this, mostly for the pickup range for 40%, because I'm lazy and don't want to walk. I do love how quickly the upgrades come in the early game. Another 5% crit chance. That already puts us up to 20%, so 1 in 5 is a crit. And we don't need the crits yet, but they certainly help. And we'll take another 5% crit chance. When we're faced with gray upgrades, we might as well take crit chance. You also shoot behind you. The safest upgrade in the world. That will actually be really good, because we just wait and shoot like that, and we shoot a million bullets either direction. We're going to reduce cooldowns by 10%, mostly for the dash. I think this character is going to synergize really nicely with the upgrades we're going for. I think on this one I'm going to take more attack speed. We went from about 2 per second to 2.5 per second. Then we're going back to damage, 115 total. And then a lot more damage again. This is going to multiply with the eventual super crits. And this is easy to just play in a burst. I just walk around for a second, then once I stop for a moment, now I kill everything near me, then I walk around again. Another 5% crit chance. We're going to take our anger out on this tomato. Okay, come here, stupid, you're making me look bad. This one's also tempting just because I'll get so much extra damage. I will move slower, but I think I can make that up with extra speed. Here I'm going to grab a little bit more attack speed. Now we're up to 3 per second, so we're firing very quickly, doing lots of damage. Our base damage is up to 202 at this point, so that's going to destroy everything for a while. That's 202 for each of those little projectiles. Just one more time, I'm going to increase my pickup and area effect range by 40%. That's just going to help with numerous things down the road, mostly pickup. I just really don't want to have to wander around the entire world picking up individual coins. Plus, if I'm going to be slow, we've got to make the idiot slow as well. Okay, we'll take another 5% crit chance. 1 in 3 is now officially a critical hit. Okay, we're already getting the armadillo people, and we're already murdering the armadillo people. I'm going to gain more move speed at this point just to make up for my limited mobility. We went from movement speed of 2.9 to 3.3, so that's actually a really big increase. And then I guess we're going to further a crit chance. We're at 40% crit, so that's already getting pretty high. It's going to get almost redundant soon to start picking up more of those. This is a good one too. When your projectiles should be destroyed, their damage is reduced by 50% and they pierce instead. So we just got much more piercing. So now our bullets will go through great hordes of enemies. They'll have reduced damage, but they'll still hit lots. There's a lot of good choices here. The extra choice is maybe actually the one I'm going to go for, just because we'll find more of these moving forward. That's what I'm going to call an investment that's hopefully going to pay out for us. But we all know I never make a bad choice, but already it kind of is. Look at all these choices. We're going to do 100% more crit damage. So instead of double damage, we're doing triple damage, which means 608. We are going to take a little bit more attack speed again. I think that's actually going to be the most worthwhile of all of those choices. And already it's time for the first boss. We're going to get right in his face and fire away with all the shots, especially when we get our multi-shot going. Okay, we're doing a lot of damage if we just sit there and hit him due to all of our crits, which show up only once in a while. I'm trying to use my burst shot, but burst shots are mostly better for big clumps of idiots. This guy is a singular clump of idiots, so we don't need to get too carried away.
He's called Simple Tom for a reason.
I think we're actually slowing him down. That's why he's not annoying me as bad as he should be. And then we'll bury him in a shallow grave in the desert. I'm not entirely sure this is going to work for me or against me, but triple the arrows means triple the fun. And that's what I'm here for. We're going to be firing less arrows overall, but look at those bursts. I'm going to knock another 10% off of my abilities. That's just going to be good for all manner of things. But for now, I'm mostly just going to take my idiots on a walk. Then when I get bored, I'm going to stop and kill everything. We are again getting to the point where I'm not one-shotting everything, so we're going to need to add a little more damage again. Perfect, more damage. Went from 200 to 225. So we'll see how this little guy likes that. We're obviously doing okay damage. I'm going to spawn the invincible minion that picks up coins and inflicts damage when it hits enemies. That's just going to save me having to go pick stuff up for myself. And he'll do a little bit of helpful damage out there. Since I have a legendary attack speed upgrade, I'm going to use that to put a little bit of my attack speed back on. We lost so much firing triple arrows, but I think I actually just put most of it right back on, so it's like that didn't even happen. Okay, here comes Mr. Knife Hand, so we're just going to go ahead and murder him. That shouldn't take long at all. permanently augments your damage by 20%. Projectiles are 30% slower. I don't think that's going to be a big deal. Plus, there's lots of upgrades out there to increase that. Crits deal 75% more damage. We're doing over 1,000 now. I mean, they move in slow motion, but they just stay in the screen longer that way. And the longer they stay in the screen, the more potential penetration we do.
And let's be honest, you're all here for the penetration.
And then we're going to keep stacking damage, 250 to 277. And when that gets multiplied through the crits, 1100 damage already. I think it's about time I use my one and only reroll to hopefully get something more exciting. We'll take 75% more crit damage. Because now they're up to 450. We do so many crits, that's almost just a straight up overall damage increase. We'll test it against this weirdo. So even with basic shots, he got absolutely wrecked. I guess let's deal damage in an area around me before I dash. We'll gain 1 dash. I'll probably need to dash eventually once I start getting overwhelmed by morons. We're starting to get the blue coins dropping. That's going to be nice because we're going to start leveling up quickly again. Out of all the choices here, 45% more crit chance, so almost 1 in 2 is a crit. Crits deal 75% more damage, so they're up to 525%, so that means they're up to 1600 damage. They're escalating so quickly. We're going to put them to the test against the Ninja Turtle, so let's get right in his face, and he's dead. Your projectiles slow any enemy they touch by 70%, so if we're not one-shotting things, they'll get slowed and then probably die on the second shot. But I really am mostly one-shotting everything still. I'm pretty sure at this point, even a little bit more damage really means a lot of damage. Because even if we only added 15 or 20 damage, that's going to get multiplied by 5 times anyway, so that's really adding basically 100 damage. And it's time for the next big moron, it's this thing. So 1-2 bursts and we've already taken off 20% of its HP. We're also slowing it quite a bit between our projectiles and our aura, so it looks kind of stupid just smashing its head into the ground and not really doing much. So we have the right build to be able to defeat this boss. Our projectiles slow it so much that like it's of very little threat at all to us. It is most fun though when I get the burst going on it. Alright, well, it's about to do another burst, but instead we'll just go ahead and kill Ruthless Ruth. Let's try every 30 shots. Your next shot is slow, huge, deals 3 times damage, and cannot be stopped. I feel like these fire rocks aren't supposed to be here anymore. You know what, another 5% crit chance sounds nice. Now we have an even 50% crit. 1 and 2 does 1700 damage. Okay, there goes the big bullets. We're firing 4 of them when we do fire them. That's 1 in every 30 shots. I feel like they're more just there for our amusement than anything right now. I don't know how functionally useful they're going to be. Do we want to do another damage trade-off? Permanently augments your damage by 30%. We lose 20% attack speed. Projectiles get faster too, so I'm not really sure, but we're going to try it. That did push my damage over 2000, so I feel like attack speed won't matter if we just manage to one-shot everything on screen. And our attack speed basically bounces between 2 and 3 per second anyway, so we're really not losing much by taking those. Like, I'm pretty sure picking this up pretty much mitigates a lot of that loss of attack speed. Gain 10% more experience from future and past coins. That's gonna instant level me up. We have a lot of good choices here. We're actually going to gain much more attack speed just to try and put some of that back on. 3 arrows per second sounds a lot better than 2 ultimately. Even though we are mostly burst firing, I just realized, but that's fine. We still got plenty of damage and we're only going to get more. I mean, at no point so far have we come anywhere close to even struggling. The only thing we're struggling on is having enough enemies to kill so far. And we're starting to get the naked werewolves, who are dying almost instantly. Gain more damage. That took us from 410 to 445. Emit an aura that periodically inflicts 25% of your damage to idiots around me every half a second. It's actually a little bit quicker than that with our cooldowns, but that's hitting for 110 damage by itself. That's mostly actually just to help keep me alive, because things that get close to me are going to be slowed and take ticking damage. Crits deal 100% more damage, so they're all the way up to 700%, so we'll test it against a demon, just over 3000 damage. When you stay still, periodically fire projectiles around you. I don't know how well that's going to work with this builder character. We could try it. I think it just happened there. We didn't really notice it there. When there's lots of enemies, we will. But this really is more of a take 10 steps and then shoot type build. This might seem stupid, but I'm going to take another 5% crit chance. The closer we can get that to 100, it's just going to increase our damage a ton. And we just need to pick up those little purple coins and firing lots of those big blue bullets. And it's already time for the next sheriff. So we're going to slow this thing a lot. And it's already a third of the way dead. Okay, we need to stay out of the way of that though, but as long as we're getting close and doing our big bursts, it's going to stand very little chance at all. You have a burst, you're dead. Now it's time for round 2 of this little adventure, but I'm pretty sure I could just sit right about here, and as long as I'm avoiding your balls, we're going to be fine. It needs to sit close enough where I can get all 3 of these shots in, so we're going to sit right about here, hopefully hitting all 3 of those bullets. I mean, my individual damage like this isn't a superstar, but when I get that little burst going, that's when it really does a lot of damage. So maybe movement speed would have been a smart thing to add to this build. Okay, so we're going to dodge all that out. I keep getting hit by this because I'm stupid. This should actually be the easiest part considering I move off dash. Like I move and shoot, move and shoot, move and shoot. I'm just trying to stay closer than I should. Anyways, they're defeated. And every 1 meter deal 30% of our damage in an area around us. Considering our damage is just endlessly going up, that's only going to help us stay alive. Because the hordes of enemies are going to start to get very, very, very big. But that also means lots of experience coming in. Would prefer better upgrades than this. We'll just knock 10% off of dashes and abilities. They're already at 70% of their original values, so they're 30% quicker. We're starting to have so many enemies dying that the money on the ground is consolidating into money bags. Okay, we have another naked werewolf thing coming in, so we're going to murder him in one shot. Heal for 1 after you dash. We haven't been dashing a lot, we haven't really needed to, but that's going to synergize very nicely with something else. There's a lot of good upgrades here. I'm just going to take straight damage. That took me from 445 to 480. So I think the blue one gives me a 10% increase, the gray one gives me a 5, and they all act accordingly. But that means basically the more damage you have, the bigger each individual upgrade is. Enemies are starting to get pretty intense. There's a lot of them on the board, and they're definitely getting stronger. Like this demon is actually able to resist some damage from me. Every time you move 2 meters, lightning strikes an enemy, dealing 100% damage in a small AoE. We move a lot with this build, so that's perfect. We're going to spawn a lot of lightning. Honestly, I'm just going to take a little bit more damage. That still put me over 500 base damage, and that means our crits, which is soon to be most of the shots, is up to 3,500. Enemies are slowly getting closer. That means we're going to need a lot more damage. Crits deal 75% more damage. And that guy died very quickly, so then we get his item. This one can help us. You have 5% crit chance for each ready to use stack of dashes. So even with our only 5 now, we have an 80% crit chance. And the longer this goes, the more ready to use dashes we're going to have, because we're going to have to add dashes because it's really going to be the only upgrade available soon. I think we still need just a little bit more base crit chance though. Just because I really need to be able to murder a lot of enemies, I need to take a few steps in fire and really hope that those hit a lot of different things. Drop a dynamite before each dash, basically gain 1 dash, also 5% crit chance. So we have a 90% crit chance at this rate, so basically every shot is going to be a crit. So whether we add damage or crit damage, we're simply adding damage to every shot we fire. I do wish we had a little bit more piercing. We really only have 1 plus the 2 half pierce things, so 3 pierces, which is good, but we need more. I guess gaining 2 dashes is technically an extra 10% crit chance, so we're at a full 100% crit chance as long as their dashes are ready to use. But I can already tell we're going to need more damage soon. We're killing things, but they're starting to swarm. Your first piercing shot now targets the closest enemy, gain 1 pierce. I think that's going to work pretty strongly for me. I didn't give that a lot of thought, but I never really do. Whatever I'm doing seems to be working adequately. The 1 extra pierce is huge though. Because I just need to fire one of these bursts around in different directions, I'm going to have to start using my dashes a little more to travel. Let's gain some more damage. That was not quite a 10% increase, but that was still really big, especially once it gets multiplied, 4,000 damage. So what I really need to be careful doing is just moving like that. I need to move for a little ways and then fire all my bullets that are going to pierce. I'm actually going to gain 4 rerolls for upgrade choices. We're going to have limited upgrade choices moving forward. The farther we go, the harder it is to level up, so the more rerolls, the better those are going to be. It is kind of nice to watch at though. Every time I move a little bit, I just gotta fire and then I watch a giant fan of damage go out. And then everything dies. Gain more damage, yes, 573 damage. Throw 3 knives in random directions for each 4 meters traveled. I don't really know how much damage those are gonna do, but I am moving quite a lot. Look at the big cluster of enemies. I really gotta start focusing and firing on them more. I didn't really realize how many there are. Since I don't really love any of these, we're gonna use that reroll. That's better, gain much more damage. That put us over 600 base damage. And I've used so many of my dashes now that my crit chance is actually all the way down to 65, which isn't super great. But it's still enough to do a ton of damage, and this is the part where the game is starting to lag just a touch. But I've learned that if I turn off the damage readouts, it'll actually run a lot better. So we should be able to go further than ever before with all of this damage, provided I don't die quite soon. But I'm going to do my best to stay moving, and I just got to fire these bursts off whenever I can. As long as I'm firing the gun, I should be okay. We're just going to keep firing. We're going to move, fire, move, fire, move, fire. Taking on a lot of damage right now, though. I'm actually going to add 2 to my health. That will keep me alive, but also add a ton of damage as it turns out. We're going to move slower, so this might be a bad choice, but I just was desperate to add some damage. Got a lot of enemies coming in. I feel like I really need attack speed to be able to survive much longer. If the enemies stay thinned out, it's okay like this. I can kind of maneuver around them, but when they start to swarm like this, I need to dash, and when I dash, I lose some of my crit chance, and then we get in trouble. We'll see. We're getting a big cluster of enemies behind us. It's just hard for me to get close enough to hit that. I gotta kind of walk in big circles getting back to all the hearts I left on the ground. But once I start and hold still for a sec, this will kind of help me. We can fire. The enemies swarm me if I hold still. The game really does run smoothly though without the damage readouts, so that's good to know. I gotta try and get more shots into this big cluster of idiots. I think they're just getting so strong that I can't one-shot them, so it's kind of working against me now. Let's gain a lot more damage, 690 base damage. Crit should be absolutely enormous at this point. We still don't have enough piercing to destroy the big horde of morons. It's just kind of like a flood following me around at this point. And we're starting to take a lot of damage because there's just a lot of enemies. And here comes another guy with a health bar. I'm actually gonna get right in his face and see if I can kill him somewhat quickly. Nope, we're getting too swarmed for that. But what I will do is take these morons on a little walk down here and hopefully not take any more damage because we're running low. Okay, I see how this is very viable, but I think I would need just a little bit more attack speed or something for just a touch more survivability at this point because we're in trouble. Yeah, I think I still needed a lot more attack speed.